Once upon a time, there was a young boy with a very bad temper. So his father gave him a bag of nails and told him that every time he lost his temper, he should hammer a nail in the fence. The first day, the boy had driven 37 nails in the fence. But gradually, the number of nails dwindled down, and he discovered that it was easier to hold his temper than to drive those nails into the fence. Finally, the first day came when the boy didn't lose his temper at all. He proudly told his father about it, and his father suggested that the boy now pull out one nail for each day that he was able to hold his temper. The days passed, and the young boy was finally able to tell his father that all the nails were gone. So the father took him by his hand and led him over to the fence, and he said to him, "You have done well, my son, but look at the holes in the fence. The fence will never be the same. When you say things in anger, they leave a scar just like this one. You can put a knife in a man and draw it out, and it won't matter how many times you say, 'I'm sorry.' The wound is still there." When our emotions take over, life is often never the same. We've seen it in wars, we've seen it in friendships, we've seen it in marriages, we've seen it between races and cultures, we've seen it between supposedly religious people. That the wounds we leave can often be disastrous. Sometimes the scars never heal. Now, our emotions are an essential part of our humanness. But what does Paul tell us in that letter to the Ephesians? All bitterness, fury, angry, shouting, reviling must be removed from us, along with malice. Be kind, be compassionate, be forgiving. Now, we all experience a plethora of emotions, but we also have our reason. We also have our spirituality to keep us from allowing our emotions to be destructive. Pixar just released an extremely intriguing animated film. I seldom see animated films, but Inside Out really drew my attention. Your children may love it, but it's really way over their heads. You see, the main characters are 5 basic human emotions inside a young girl by the name of Riley. And the story is about these emotions helping this young girl adjust to a move that her family is making from Minneapolis to San Francisco. Her life has been turned upside down, and she has to integrate joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness at a time in her life when she is going through overwhelming transition. What the movie does is it does validate the universality of those emotions. Riley and her parents have to acknowledge each one of these feelings, accepting them all, but not allowing any one of them to take full charge. Certainly, I believe the one emotion in all of us that leaves the most scars is anger. I'm sure we're all very familiar with that emotion. It's normal, it's natural, it's human. But as one psychologist writes, the truth is, anger may be a natural, that is, commonly occurring social reaction to hurt and insult, yet being natural doesn't make it good for us. Poisons, for example, are also natural, and poisons, by definition, are deadly. Our anger can be deadly. And we see it every day in our community with the shootings that take place way too often. Anger is usually a response to a slight, to an insult, to some kind of hurt. And what we all have to struggle with is our need for a healthy response to those underlying experiences. If we act out in anger, it can be destructive. Yet if we suppress the feeling, never recognize the feeling, never name the feeling, it can fuel the ugly cultural darknesses of prejudice, of hatred, paranoia, child abuse, domestic violence, drug addictions, and all those other psychological poisons that really go against and defile real love and compassion and caring, as well as it can cause depression. What we have to come to terms with are the psychological underpinnings of that anger. Because so many of our outbursts paradoxically hide our feelings of vulnerability. One of the challenges of life is that we really have to accept the reality that life is filled with hurts, and acting out these hurts in anger is often very destructive, and that our hostility towards the other often masks our own emotional pain. Now, in the movie Inside Out, the young Riley had to face her sadness at leaving all that she knew. She couldn't fake it. She couldn't be happy and joyful like her parents wanted her to be. And once she and her parents accepted how vulnerable this move made them feel, they could move beyond their anger and they could be a family again. We have to admit, all of us, life triggers our vulnerability. Life's unfairness, life's hurts, life's insults, life's disappointments, life's cruelties that are all around us. And one of the things that's so hard for us to accept is that we have little control. And until we accept that, we so often act out in hostility and rage. Now, the last number of weeks or months, even before that, I've been really concerned about the cultural climate around us. And one of my biggest concerns is how it's impacting on our young people, what they are seeing that's going on all around us. The idea that one can say anything one wants to say, whether it's true or not, whether it's an insult or a character defamation. There seem to be no filters today. And it really isn't civil to just spew out whatever is on the top of our heads without carefully reflecting upon its impact. We all have to have filters. We are people with feelings and emotions that are normal and natural, but can be poisonous and deadly. So besides being people of emotions, we are often also people who have the ability to think. We are people who have the ability to reflect. We are people who have the ability to pray about how we express these emotions. We got to admit, the world is filled with many wounds and many scars. Life wounds us. And if we cannot accept this reality, life is going to be painful. So we all have to work seriously on our behaviors, how we express our emotions, so that we don't create the scars that never heal, the scars that so easily happen in marriage, in all kinds of relationships, between races, between different religions, cultures, different political groups. We can disagree with one another, but we can disagree in a civil manner. Isn't that the challenge we hear in the letter from the Ephesians? That all bitterness, fury, anger, shouting, reviling have to be removed from us. We're called to be compassionate, kind, and forgiving. Let me just conclude my homily today with one of the shortest poems that Emily Dickinson wrote. A word is dead when it is said, some say. I say it just began to live that day.